Yo fam, welcome back to the Context Complex. You got me, your girl Dawn, aka the Golden Dawn.
You already know, it's your boy Tariq Dupree in the building, coming to you live.
And we are thankful to have you today. So, I wanted to start, we have our topic that we wanted to talk about was like getting too deep into the media and like what's too much for you, what's a safe amount. But speaking of media, I wanted to point out something like recently, somebody that's really close to me in my life in terms of influence back when I was young, DMX. One of the first rappers. I bought my album in 9th grade when he first came out. He recently passed, and I wanted to bring that up because, look, I sound like I'm getting a little bit something in my chest thinking about it. But I wanted to bring that up because he's somebody who's always been in media, and he's somebody who's always been known. Like, everybody knows, like, there's nobody who doesn't know who he is. But one thing that's in the media that you will always find when it comes to speaking about Earl Simmons is the fact that he's never not been himself. He's never in any kind of media situation not been that same, like, hood preacher, like, just looking to, like, give you some gems and drop something, like, down that's gonna, like, pick your spirits up. Anything you've ever seen of him, heard of him, pulled up in the media of him is always just the same person. Like, whether he was on drugs, coming out of jail, out drinking alcohol, he was still the same exact person. And that's so deep to me because it's because of that I think that people loved him so much, and nobody ever talked trash about him in his down times. Nobody was ever like, yo, he's such a loser drug addict, oh, he lost all his money. Nobody ever said that because he was always the same person. And that's just something that I want to be able to embody, and I strive every day to embody, and he did it so effortlessly despite all of the challenges that he had physically, in terms of just living on this life as a human. So I just wanted to say, since we're talking about media, just bring him up for a second, because as a person who grew up in the 90s with hip hop, and I'm like, one thing, if anybody knows me, I'm a real hip hop head, and so it just really like affected me, just the fact that he's gone. And I was listening to a podcast recently, Drink Champs from Nori. He's great with podcasts. If you're into hip hop, I really suggest you get on Drink Champs. But they just interviewed DMX in February, and he was talking about how he just turned 50, and that if he were to die today, he'd be cool. Like, he knew he lived a good life, and I'm just like, that is, I just want to embody that. So I just want to take a moment to just shout out DMX, and I'm so thankful that he got to go home.
Thanks. Rest in peace to a true king, for real. So on that note, you brought up something that I definitely wanted to dive into on this topic with the media. So DMX, like you said, is someone who was heavily in the media by his own choice, I feel like. Mm-hmm. And one thing that I noticed regarding his career, like throughout the years, is that he really didn't get too much highlight from mainstream media. You feel me? It's like they wasn't really going to put him out on the TV shows or like the real big sponsored podcasts and stuff like that.
Yeah, he was ours.
Exactly.
Like, yeah,
he stayed true to like the people's media, like the media that was created by real people, not just by, the news or something like that. So I think that is something that I definitely want to dive into with this, is like separating mainstream media just from like media in general, because ultimately, like, we're all absorbing and engaging with some type of media, but I feel as though when we tap into the mainstream media, there's a lot of herd mentality that goes on, a lot of like one-mindedness. So I think it's very important, because he was someone who spoke on a lot of things that I feel like he would have received a lot of adversity and backlash from the mainstream media. And also I feel like no one really said nothing to him, because who really wanted a problem with DMX? You feel me? So they just was trying to keep him on the hush, keep him on the low, not trying to give him too much shine. So yeah, like, this is something that happens often with people such as DMX, like, that go out into the media and become very big public figures, is they will be pushing their own message, their own media through, whoever they're partnered with, but like then the mainstream media just gives them no attention at all, like just tries to block them out of the spotlight. So I feel like when it comes to the media that we're intaking, it's very important to be aware of the source. Very important to be aware of the source and like how did we get to this source? You know, what else is coming out of these sources and just so on and so forth. So, um, just to like give a overall breakdown of media, like media could be anything from a newspaper to actually watching the news on your TV to reading an article on your phone. You know, social media has become pretty much the main staple for how people is getting their news nowadays. So it's a million different ways through music, through the radio, you know, through this podcast. This is a form of media. So literally there is any and every avenue for this. But it's like, obviously, when we're being conscious about the way we're living our lives, we got to be conscious about what we're intaking too, as well as making sure, like you said, that we're not just consuming, taking in too much and not actually allowing ourselves to put anything out. So
just that's a perfect segue when you say taking things in and not allowing to put things out. I feel like I have like the perfect I feel like myself I'm the perfect example for that. So I know oftentimes you and I will talk about like topics around the world that are just like those hot button topics that really get somebody like riled up, and you know, the things that make us mad, like, you know, we'll talk about sex trafficking. That's something that riles you up and gets you like upset, like I don't like that. Talk about just like, you know, the food industry, that riles me up, I don't like that. There's so many things that the list goes on and on about things that just get me like all flustered, and I just don't like it. But with that being said, and I always say this, I could find a million reasons to be upset, but there's not too many things that move me past upset and push me towards action. And so, say for instance, there's one, somebody had a dumb like argument with me talking about like, well, if you're against like, you know, people being mistreated, you use an iPhone though, whenever, and your iPhones come from like, you know, these underpaid workers and da 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 da. And I'm like, cool, yes, but personally, I can't go there and fix it. And I hate to say it, I'm gonna keep using my iPhone. I know it. I don't like that I do that. I don't like that that's my choice, but it is what it is. There's also, in terms of like, some products that you might buy that say made in America are really prison made.
yeah,
When they say
absolutely.
most of the time that's what it is. Do I still buy it if I like it? I kind of do. Am I proud of myself? No. But those are also maybe not the fights that I'm supposed to be on the front line fighting. And so when you talk though, if you ask me personally about education reform and what can we do to have a stronger education system in the United States, that's something that I work tirelessly for on a regular, in terms of the job that pays me, the nonprofit that I own. Even having this podcast or writing books is an extension of me wanting to push a narrative, because that's what everybody does. The narrative I'm pushing, I believe, is a more positive one, but everybody's pushing a narrative. And so I cling to the news and stuff and the media that feeds me to do more in that area. So I'll look up, you know, oh, what was the latest union vote, or in terms of teaching? What is the latest, like, what did the governor decide in terms of teaching, in terms of education? And I get riled up behind that stuff because I feel like that's within my hands to make change for. Even something small like what I'm choosing to feed my kids for dinner that night. If I hate the food industry, and I know that I'm still a part of it in a way that I don't want to be, but every day that I'm like, we made it through without meat all day, that's like a win for that. Like this is a small victory. So I don't get myself caught up in the things that, like, I can't go save the women in Sudan. As much as I don't want them to be raped and kidnapped, I can't go get them. I can't go and save the people, the albinos that are getting their arms chopped off. As much as I don't want that to happen, I can't go do that. So I don't engage in that kind of media that I can't do anything about. Or in another way to look at it, I don't engage in media where I don't feel like I can put out enough positive energy to make the change. Like, instead it's taking down my energy levels, and I can't be a beacon of positive energy if my energy is too low, thinking about things that are too low vibrational for me. So yes, of course, I want these things to be different, but I want to make sure that my vibration can match my action. And so I pick education. That's the thing that drives my heart. And so when I get mad, it puts me to action, and now it's leveled out. It's not just me mad and me inactive. There has to be a balance.
So let me cut you off
Okay.
real quick.
You're not cutting me off.
So on that note, you said a few times, like, basically that you choose not to do anything, but you are choosing to do something just by speaking on it right now. And another perspective on that is just by speaking on it is like you literally are doing something about it. You could see it as like, okay, you didn't break into wherever these people is being held hostage, whatever, and go and save them physically, but you brought the awareness to bring it to more people's attention, which might actually bring the energy and the momentum that that movement needs for those type of things, for those type of people that actually want to get in right on the front lines and go and do those types of things. So I think it's very important, you know, to speak on these types of things. For me, obviously, whoever you are, whatever you do, you're going to find your own lane and what you feel comfortable with and at peace with. But like just speaking on it, speaking on things brings so much change and so much awareness, because so many people are tapped into like the mainstream media that's not talking about any of these subjects. So just by like speaking on it, even if it's just for a second, just to bring the awareness, like, all right, now that sparks someone to maybe speak on it or maybe look further into the situation, and maybe they feel like they're the person that like, oh, nah, like, I'm finna go right to Sudan, you feel me? Like, I'm finna see what I gotta do to get involved, to, you know, the betterment of whatever the situation may be. So, but also another note that you touched on as far as the whole iPhone situation goes, I feel like iPhone kind of has our hands all tied right now, because the iPhone really is just so convenient, and all the features that come along with it that really don't, the interconnectivity that isn't offered by Android, I feel like really kind of puts us in a bind where it's like there's really almost no other option that we could even go to besides the iPhone. So if it was something similar to an iPhone that I could invest in, I would do it, you feel me? But it's just like there's really nothing on that level right now, and it does suck because I know that it's going into supporting sweatshops and stuff like that. But also, just on that note, just speaking on these things, bringing more awareness to these things, more people waking up about these things, eventually we'll start to see more human rights movements, humanitarian movements come in, even if it's just paperwork, like, yo, like, Apple, you can't be doing this, you feel me? So definitely on another note with that too, it's like, all right, you might not be able to, you know, not buy an iPhone, but for me, like, I decided to, my whole life, like, I wore Nike, I wore Jordan, I grew up on all that, like, I was a big sneakerhead in high school, and that was kind of like a huge part of my life, you feel me? So, but at a certain point when I found out all the stuff that was going on and involved with Nike, I'm like, all right, you know, I could buy Adidas, like, you feel me? So at that point, you gotta really just, you gotta decide what is and what isn't for you. But with something like Nike, I feel like it's a lot easier to make that switch, because it's not like there's no other clothes out there, no other clothes that got the right function. You know, I know they do got some nice athletic wear, but there's a lot of other brands out there too. So that's one that I decided to personally stop supporting, because I don't know if we released the episode where it's talking about voting with our dollar or not.
I can't remember. We deleted the one, and I don't know.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. So I don't know if we got into it, but like in a capitalist environment, yeah, I don't think we did. So in a capitalist environment, really all the energy for change comes out of the dollar, and it's like we have whatever, you know, capital we have, and we might not have so much of it, but still everything that we do is influencing the change. Because like you said, when y'all decide to not eat meat for a night, like, okay, it's not just one of you not doing it, it might be 4 or 5, 6 of you maybe, and that, think about it, it's like you're not probably the only family that did that that night, and it's like it creates this huge chain reaction. And at a certain point, it's like if no one is buying meat, they can't just keep putting meat in the store, you feel me? 100%. And it's like they will try to do, as far as I'm concerned, they will try to put meat in the store for as long as they possibly could. But once there's no demand for it, they're gonna make a new product. And then when they make some bullshit vegan food that still ain't good for us, and then we say, hey, like, nah, we need that organic, you feel me? They're gonna cater to that organic. They're gonna keep making the steps based on whatever they need to do for us to keep buying their products. But in that shift, in that period of time, also we need to be moving towards more like grassroots brands, you feel me, more family owned businesses and stuff like that. So one last point that I wanted to touch on that was a great point was the made in America thing. Like, so many things that are made in America are just straight up made in a sweatshop, made in a slave shop, and I'm not even gonna call it anything differently because there's privately owned prisons, the industrial prison complex that has been around for some time now, where people are being like purposely targeted, especially people of color, for like low level drug offenses. There's people that still in jail right now for marijuana across the country that are being forced to work hours on end for anywhere between like 10 cents to $2 an hour. And obviously, you know, like the minimum wage is like $7, the cheapest, I think, anywhere in the country. So these people are literally slaves because they have no freedom and they have to just continue to work to feed into a system that was purposely targeting them to put them in there. And one thing that is crazy is like, you know, everyone was super upset and triggered, specifically the mainstream media, because they want to make every black man look crazy, you feel me, when Kanye West said that people are still slaves. But, I mean, how is that not slavery? You feel me? And as far as I'm concerned, like, anyone that is, everyone that has a job is an essential worker. Why? Because if anybody wants to go out to eat, like, I know I love to go out to eat. I know you love to go out to eat. A server, a host, a dishwasher, janitor, I don't care who you are. It's like these people are absolutely essential to the function of that environment. So everyone should be able to make a living wage. And obviously, I'm not saying just raise the minimum wage, because then they're going to raise the minimum wage and they're not going to raise anyone else's wage that was already making decent money. And then, yeah, like you said, they're just going to inflate the prices of everything. But on that note, like, everyone should be able to make a sustainable wage. And if not, that's indentured servitude, which is damn near slavery.
The sad part about you saying that is that the cost of what it takes to live in the United States is so high compared to what even quote unquote professionals make, that even professionals live check to check. Like, there's nobody that's not in this boat where it comes to we just can't afford to live. I mean, I know I talk all the time. I'm an engineer. I'm a teacher. I'm married to an engineer, and we're just scraping by, both working two jobs, you know, just to make it happen. And that's the college American dream. Go to college and now I'm $100,000 in debt from the college that got me to the American dream that we can't afford.
And these are the people, teachers, who are directly in charge of shaping and molding and paving the way for the future generation, which is completely going to inherit this entire planet. You feel me? So as far as I'm concerned, like, teaching, y'all should be probably the most paid out of anything, if you ask me. But yo, like, on that note, is just literally there's a statistic. I want to say people that work from the time they 25 to 65, you know, they say work your whole life, you feel me, go to school, get a job, whatever, get a good job. After 65, you know, you put money away, you retire. So pretty much they got you thinking out here, you paying attention to everything they saying, they feeding us. They got us under the impression that if we just stay true to working and grinding for 40 years of our life, 45 years of our life, that we gonna be set. So how is it that one in every American that works from the time that they're 25 to 65, one in every 100 Americans has enough money to sustain themselves? 1 in 100. It's crazy.
Let that sink in for a second.
So, I mean, and this is a direct result of media to some extent, because ultimately there's information coming that is telling us that this is a suitable plan for us. And maybe to them, you know, it's a suitable plan for us. But as far as I'm concerned, that's not a suitable plan for me, my family, or anybody that wants to live a decent life or maintain any, like, you know, human rights and freedoms.
Honest, when you say, because anybody who knows me also knows that I prioritize fun. I'm just not one of those people who you're not gonna catch me working 7 days a week.
Right.
You're not gonna catch me working 30 hours a day. There's not that many, but
especially for something that's not fun and like
just,
I can't really do what I want to do.
Exactly. And I believe that universe source energy wants me to enjoy myself. And I do understand that it's good for me to go to work to make some money and feed the children that I've had. But fun is just as high and important as making some dollars. And I feel like the media, just like you said, tries to make it sound like you're supposed to grind your days away and only, what is this nonsense with working 5 days and having 2 days off? That's nonsense. Mm-hmm. And so we need to reclaim our time back, because I work a whole full-time job. I work 2 jobs and I still make sure that I prioritize fun. Like I'm not gonna work myself to the bones. It's just not gonna happen.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's not any way to live, because the way that I see it is like you put yourself such into a grind mode and you grinding for something that truthfully
not even your dream.
Exactly. It's not your dream. Let's be honest. Let's just be brutally honest. It's not
you
your dream.
You're working for somebody else's
someone else's dream that probably doesn't even have great aspirations with that dream, except to exploit you and all your coworkers and just make as much money as they possibly can off you. Mm-hmm. So
give you enough so you shut up, so they get home and they go on their yacht and they go and live it up.
They want to get you as comfortable as possible, give you just enough where you're not complaining no more, but you complacent now, so you don't ask for no more, you don't get no more. And then it gets even deeper when we talk about the fact that the employees is the most taxed people in America, so it's like the more you make, the more they take. And I was talking to one of my mentors like a week or so ago, and he's an investor now. He used to work, I forget exactly what job he used to work at, but he was making around like 6 figures to $150,000 a year. And he had been with this company for like 10 years. He was about to get a promotion, and he was like reviewing all the things about the promotion, and he was like, after he broke down the taxes, he actually was gonna make less for making more.
Yep.
And he was like, he went to his boss, he's like, bro, like, I can't take this. Like, I can't take this promotion and just start making less money and doing more work. But ultimately, like, the more money you make in that employee position is just the more money that you're going to get taken out in taxes. You get put up into that next tax bracket, and then they taxing even more of your income. So, like, he even tried to see if he could file as, like, self-employed through the company. Company was just like, yeah, we can't let you do that. Why can't you let them do that? You most definitely can. You most definitely are able to, capable of it. But that's not what they want to do. They don't want you to have that freedom. And
wait, so how about just to talk about not having that freedom? So that's the one thing that I wanted to bring up with these companies that supply all of these extracurriculars for their employees, like gyms and all that nonsense. And to me, like, a lot of people will be like, oh my goodness, I got an arcade at work, I can play pool at work. But I'm like, you could go home also and just go hang out with your own family. Like, why are they paying you to spend your free time here? Like, this is work. This is not play.
To be there?
Well, it's your regular work hours, so it's supposed to be for like your lunchtime. Like, I don't want to say who I'm talking about because I don't want anybody to call somebody out. No. But this is just a regular lunch hour, and you can go work out in the gym. And
on that note too, is like, your ass probably would have got paid a whole lot more if they didn't have to put $500,000 into that gym.
That's what I'm saying, and that's exactly. I would be like, y'all could have got bonuses.
Yeah, I hate
take
this shit down.
That's how I feel. Y'all could have got bonuses.
I got my gym at home.
That drives me nuts. And then there'll be people that are so happy, like, can you believe it? There's an arcade at my job. Like, no, like that. That should have been in your paycheck.
Yeah, I was like, done heard stories of people that went to jail and they happy with the situations in jail. They're like, the bed was a little bit better. You feel me? We got some better cigarettes while we was in there. I'm like,
that's
bro,
hilarious.
Like, you feel me? Like, what's really important? What's really important? You know? Because it's like, the way I see it is, they don't care so much about us. Like, they don't really want to kill us. They want us to be right there and working.
That's how it's always been since the beginning of our history here in this country. They don't want to kill us.
They want us to be right there and be going to work or in jail. Because in jail, you're not really a prisoner. You going to work.
Let me speak
but
to
on
that.
This too, on that note too, it's like they could probably single-handedly off the work that the prisoners do. The prisoners probably could pay for themselves to be in prison.
Oh, absolutely.
You feel me?
Absolutely.
But then they want to tell us that on average it costs like $80,000 a year for people to be in prison, and so long as it's not a privately owned prison, that is coming out of taxpayers' pockets, which is primarily the employees of America. And they probably locked your cousin up for having a gram of weed, and you probably paying for him extra in your taxes.
Let me speak to that for 2 seconds. So you guys already said how I feel about the education system. Let me put a layer on it now that we're talking about the prison system. So you've all, hopefully have heard from the school to prison pipeline. I hope you've heard of this. If not, it's a thing. There's a known track.
I didn't hear about it till you told me, so
go
in on it.
Oh my goodness. So basically it's talking about how the school system sets up students to be ready to be either great employees that are very obedient or prisoners. And so because of this is why it's set up where children just sit at desks all day and are told, like, don't speak, it's supposed to be silent. And this is why schools are set up in this way, to make you obedient. But let's layer this on. State testing. We've all heard about schools. We've all heard, even if you're not into education at all, you know somebody who's complained about state testing. Everybody's like, oh, why are we doing this? Let me tell you something about state testing. By 4th grade, they have tracked your child for prison. By 4th grade. So depending on what they get on these state tests, that tells the private prisons that are local who they're going to get later. That's the pipeline from school to prison. And so if your kid you're just having like a rough year or something, who knows what it can be. But the state has now tracked your kid to say this kid has a whatever percentage probability of going to your prison. So now if you're building a prison, you're talking to the officials of the state saying, well, what can we expect in terms of filling up these beds in this prison? And then the school system, I don't even know if the school systems know how deep of a role they play in it, at least on the smaller level. The higher levels, of course. Please watch The 13th. That's the by Ava DuVernay. It's a documentary. It will discuss this in depth, but it talks about all the different areas of how prison affects us. But look at the school to prison pipeline. Also, there's another documentary called Saving Superman. Both those documentaries will really help you understand how important it is to change the way we educate our youth, because they are only being educated to be either sheep employees or sheep prisoners.
Yep.
But either way, they're sheep. So we got to fix this.
Facts. And let's take this pipeline deeper. So we got the school system, the education system, got the prison system, and the prison system, like we said, is generating all this money off of slave labor, and they're giving out tests to determine which one of your children should be the next slave, either in their prison or in their corporation. So you got these major corporations that are promoting slave labor, whether it is right here in America or somewhere else like China or Ukraine or, somewhere in Africa, anywhere. It really doesn't matter. But then you got these major corporations that are controlling like big parts of the economic state, and then you got them paying off the politicians, you got them paying off the people that's running the board of education, and paying off anyone else that they have enough money for, which is everyone pretty much. That's a sellout, because as far as I see it, they could come to me right now with $1 billion and I'm gonna be like, yo, go fuck yourself, real shit. You feel me? It's a certain level of realness that just doesn't settle for no bullshit. But this is like how they get certain people that are in politics, certain people that are in sports, that are just like celebrities or public figures in general, to start speaking against us, to start flipping the narrative against us, or start promoting these big corporations that are really just funneling any way for us to really suck the life force energy out of us, because it's not just about your money. It's about the days and the weeks and months and years and blood, sweat, and tears that you putting into that place that you ain't really gonna see nothing for, and your kids ain't gonna see nothing for. So it's like they literally is just draining our soul entirely. Like, they taking our physical life force to the time where we're so old and fragile, and if we've been living the lifestyle that they've prepared for us, we might not even make it that far. Like, chances are, if we stay true to the lifestyle that they prepare for us, we not gonna make it that far. Especially, just to be real about the realness is like, especially if you're a person of color, because you just got 30 more traps along the way set up for you. So on that note, it's like we really gotta bring awareness to these major corporations that are, funding these types of things. Cause like we were talking about earlier, voting with our dollar, we could really make the flip. Like it's, I want to start name dropping them, but like we gotta stop shopping at Walmart. You feel me? Until they stop putting black people in jail and forcing them to be slaves and produce those products so that other people that are not in the best situations are forced to go and like pay for their own family members to be slaves. So it's like we gotta make a cut somewhere and just be like, yo, like I'm not having this. I'll come back when y'all stop the bullshit. Like,
and there's lists online. You can find them. There's like not just Walmart, but there's several products. Like I know some people use Old Spice deodorant or Aeropostale. I'm pretty sure gets all of their stuff made in prison. So you can find the list. And for me, honestly, it was easier for me to use the list to go down it to just like say, okay, these are the things that I buy off the list. Easy to not buy those
so
things.
like even Bounty paper towels, like you feel me? Like Bounty paper towels, you see the little commercial, they try and make you feel all good, like, oh, you need one paper towel to wipe up all this mess. You feel me?
Pick her up or whatever.
That bullshit, and then you got homie in jail like slaving, making millions of them things per day. You feel me? So it's crazy, like, but yeah, there is definitely lists that you can find online all over the place. If you having trouble find it, DM me on Instagram. I got you. I know another big one for my ladies out there, for my fellas out there that got a special someone in their life. Victoria's Secret. Yo, damn, like crazy. And Bath and Body Works too, because they're also owned by the same company as Victoria's Secret. So that's why they store set up be looking exactly the same, in case y'all was wondering. But
you can buy from either of those places, surprisingly.
That's what's up. I used to go to Bath and Body Works a lot for like Christmas gifts and stuff like that. Yeah, because it's like another thing is like you don't even really want to use that shit because that's all chemicals. Yeah. Like there's nothing natural about it in those lotions or fragrances or anything they have. Like you really don't want to put that on your skin. I used to use it too, and I would get breakouts and whatnot. I'll be putting hella lotion in my arm. My shit come out even drier. Like
that's the thing, and we're not gonna get too deep into this because we had a whole other topic for you. But that's one thing that's super important, and I'm already taking myself off track. Is how my kids get me in class. But for especially ladies out there, all your hair care products, all your skincare products, leave them as natural as possible because your body sucks all of that in. It's like you're eating. So you're just if you're putting chemicals and poison on your body, you are eating chemicals and poison. So like that's one small change you can make, especially like I'm a black woman. I don't know what anybody else does, but I know for hair oil, skin oil and stuff, coconut oil works just right. They have great oils for your hair that is just natural. You get them in the food aisle instead of the hair aisle. They're usually cheaper and they're much better for you. So make the small changes.
Thanks. And for my fellas out there, that coconut oil work great too. You feel me? You don't need no lotion.
Sure don't.
So I mean, lotion is a made up concept. You feel me? It came from using the oils and shit first. So, but I wanted to bring back like what I was saying about the major corporations and whatnot, and tie it back to the media because that's what we're talking about. So, on this note, like you can see like the education system is subject to manipulation. The prison system is subject to manipulation, and politicians, celebrities, whoever is subject to manipulation through these major corporations. So one thing that we definitely got to keep in mind is that the media is no different. Specifically the mainstream media, because like I said, media is a very encompassing term. But when it comes to the mainstream media, it's a reason that they are the mainstream, because they are the ones that is having the mainstream of finances to put that shit in front of your face. And when we talking about the television, they want to tell a vision to you, to your mind, to help you manifest the reality that they want us to be living in. So on that note, it's like be very aware of the information that you're taking in from the TV. Most likely that shit is some bullshit. If I'm gonna be completely honest, like every 13 of the TV networks that are in America, the major TV networks are owned by one major parent network. Yes, even Fox News, that looks like they say something a little bit different. They really just playing both sides. So look into that. You know, you could go back and research everything that we talking about tonight, today, whatever time you watching it at. You feel me? But definitely, you know, go back and research these things, because one good thing that we will do that the media, the mainstream media, will never tell you to do is to check us too. You feel me? Don't just listen to what we say. Don't just listen to what anyone says. You should take everything with a grain of salt. So go back and do your own research. Because if you just go and be like, oh, well, I watched a podcast and Tariq said this, like, you sound stupid, point, bro. Honestly. Like, I can't even vouch for you, bro. Because I'm like, you probably didn't even say it the way that I said it. Like, now I can't even back you up. So
if you just repeat things without researching them and just repeat them, you're just a sheep to the person where you got the information
Absolutely.
from. And so, okay, yeah, like, there's plenty of things that you tell me and I vibe with and I trust you. Mm-hmm. But if I'm just like, well, I'm just doing it because he told me to, how dumb do I look?
I wouldn't even fuck with you. I'd be like, hold up, like, that's you dumb. Gotta chill out with that.
That's dumb.
I don't like that energy. I don't like that fakeness. And most people do it just habitually. Like, they don't even really know that they're doing it, because we've been so, like, spoon-fed information our whole lives that we tend to just spit it back up at people. But it's like, when you walking around and you telling everybody what you just heard on CNN, what are you really doing? You feel me? And, like, this companies do not have your best interest in mind. So it's like, and they're going to tell you, like, this is what the facts is. This is 100% the facts. There is no other truth. Meanwhile, like, ultimately, you got to take your own time to do your own research and decide what you feel, because that's how you're going to really develop, first of all, a deeper connection with yourself and be able to speak your own truth more clearly when you define what your truth really is, when you take the time to actually, you know, research into whatever you're interested in and form your own opinion about it. Because ultimately, I believe that we all have different opinions to some degree. You feel me? We could be super close on something and just be like, oh, like, you know, A through Y was cool, but I don't like the way that you put Z. 100%. You feel me? So
I think that we're like a perfect example of that. We're always like that.
Yeah, we're like A through Y, but then sometimes on Z,
just like, I don't know.
Like, yeah, like, I don't know about that one. So, but it's great because, like, when you could take the time to put yourself in those positions without being so bent on proving a point or, like, making a point, especially if you're just regurgitating something that you heard somewhere else, like, why are you really even trying to convince that to someone? You feel me? But when you take the time to just be present and have more open conversations, be willing to listen to what someone has to say about something, that's not gonna take you into some trap and you're gonna lose yourself and you're gonna lose your opinion. Like, most likely what that's gonna do is just give you more clarification on where you already stand. You know, it's like, anytime we see what we don't want or experience what we don't want, that defines what we do want, because what we do want does not exist without everything else. You feel me? Like, what we want in our life is defined by everything we don't want in our life. So be willing to have those conversations that might not be exactly what you feel, because that's going to give you more of how you feel. And ultimately, like, we all have a right to feel however we feeling, so long as it's not, like, harming or violating anyone else. So yeah, like, take the time to just be patient and listen, and also do your own research, because at the end of the day, like, if you're not doing your own research on something, I don't know why you're talking about it.
Which is why I stay silent for a lot of these things. I'm like, I didn't look that up. I don't know. But one thing with that also, and I just want to really come from the self-care aspect, is that some conversations might be too much for you.
Yeah.
You know, just like
Step
I said
back.
that, yeah, like just how I was saying earlier, that sometimes you'll be in like something that gets you real riled up. Me personally, when I hear about like women getting raped and stuff, as a rape survivor, a few different times over, it's not always good for me to just be hearing the stories about that. As much as I want change in that area, that's not personally always good for me. It's a trigger for me. And so with that, I stay away. It's not to say I don't care about the subject. It's just that that's not good for me. If something's not good for you, you can't vibrate high. So even if you're talking to somebody that's having, like, you know, a difference of opinion, if you feel yourself getting crazy riled up, that stomach ache feeling, maybe you need to ditch the conversation conversation. I try not to have conversations that make my stomach hurt. Some people say, well, Dawn, you should be more open to other people's opinions. I'm cool with that until I don't feel good anymore. Then I step away, and that's something that I prioritize, is being able to step away from something that makes me uncomfortable. And so I think you definitely want to make sure that you're tackling the other side and listening to the other side and being open to things on the other side, but also making sure that you preserve yourself, because you do nobody any good if you can't vibrate high. Like, that's the whole point of this podcast, is to help everybody just to go through these human experiences while keeping your vibration high, so you can continue to pass on, universal source energy. But you can't do that from an empty pot. So if something empties you, it's not helping you. It has to feed you. So again, it has to do with getting you fired up, but also matching your action. Those two things have to balance out, or else you're going to feel drained.
Yeah, absolutely. And you don't need to feel bad about walking away from a conversation, or stepping out of a conversation, or even cutting someone out of your life that's consistently like projecting onto you. You feel me? Because it's like, if you're having a conversation, you're talking about something, and you're going back and forth, just discussing some things, that's one thing. But when someone is just coming around like this, you feel me, this, and you didn't even ask for it, you're not even like entertaining the conversation, you just sitting there like,
minding your business.
You feel me? And you could say no, you could walk away and not feel bad about it. Like, you don't have to agree with everyone. You don't have to have conversations with everyone. You don't have to be readily available all the time. Like, you gotta hold space for what's best for you. And ultimately, like, if you know that if you getting emotional, don't feed into that, because I feel like this is kind of off track, I guess you could say, but I feel like a big tactic of like the media and stuff is to just, play with people's emotions and to get us into that lower vibrational state, because we're talking about like they want us to manifest their visions. We're talking about, exploitation of children, exploitation of people in the prison system, and exploitation of like the whole, country as a whole through these major corporations and whatnot. So it's like, literally all of this stuff is just low vibrational, is my point, So it's like they will do anything and everything to keep us like on a low vibration, to keep us going down into that more closed off mindset. So don't allow what anyone is saying to like govern you. You feel me? Because at the end of the day, if someone is in control of your emotions, they're in control of you. So you gotta protect your energy and just pull back. Like, let me cool out, let me go and meditate, let me go take some time to just relax and get my mind right. And then if I need to, I'll come back to that situation. If I don't need to, then why am I gonna waste my time doing that? You feel me? So,
like, you've heard the old like phrase that people say, you can be in the world but you don't have to be of the world. And
absolutely.
That's what, like, we all live in this world, but we don't have to participate in this westernized civilization. Like, when you said before, going grassroots, like, that's really where it's at. Like, reforming these small communities built on like, similar like-minded ideas, so that you can be around people that vibrate on your level and that you can make things happen. Because even when it comes to like our family members, a lot of us have family members that are frankly toxic. And when you're around toxic family members and just feeling like you need to be around them just for the sake of, because they have your blood in their veins, you know what I mean? Like, that's not helping you. So you have to be able to separate from all of these ideas just to do what you need to do, so you can vibrate on the level you need to make the changes that you need to make in the world. And it's not easy to make those choices. It's not easy to sever those relationships. But once you do them, that's when you can really become who you believe yourself to be.
Who you really are. Because it's like, a lot of times I feel like this happens to so many of us growing up. We kind of like develop this people-pleasing trait. And I think it's definitely by way of society, like we was talking about. Like, we're literally educated and trained to be factory workers, or factory workers with a lot less wage, you feel me? So it's like they want to keep us in that just cycle of not really connecting more into ourselves, and like Okay, you need to just say what you was just saying again, because it just exited my mind.
Well, when you were saying that cycle, that people that need that, they just want to keep you in that cycle, like that's 100% true when it comes to. I don't remember what I said before, but I'm telling you what I was thinking when you said that. So.
I had one thought, it just like flew up out of my mind, but yeah, nah, it might be gone. It might be gone.
But so, but just to like reiterate, when it comes to the media, you have to be really discerning of what you're watching. I watch TV. I'm not gonna say like sit here like I don't watch TV. I participate in a lot of the things that we're talking about, but at the same time, I try to be cognizant of what I'm doing. I think there's one thing to just like totally admonish something or say something is totally bad, and there's another thing to say that there's levels to this, and so maybe I do watch too much TV. I don't know, but I try to watch things that I feel like that speak to me personally. Like, like YouTube has a lot of things that personal people put out there, and I'll binge on YouTube.
That's not TV to me.
Or whatever it may be.
YouTube
it's not
has
like...
censorship. YouTube has their censorship issues that I won't get into right now. It's becoming more like the TV, but I'm hoping that it don't go all the way there. Because like you said, it's mostly just, personal users that are uploading their own videos and thoughts out there. So.
I don't think there's any industry that I can mention that you're not going to be like, that one's the devil.
I mean, it's not so much an industry as like just these one corporations that we've all bought into over time. Because it's like, it could have been another media player that had been that big, but it happened to be YouTube, you feel me? It could have been another social media that happened to be that big, but it happened to be Facebook, it happened to be Twitter, it happened to be Instagram. So, and maybe, that was just like the results of people having so much power and control. But anyway, it's like I said, I'm not going to get too into that, but with media, a big thing that has caused a lot of distress for people over the years is just like constant use of propaganda. And propaganda could really be anything to stir you in any type of direction, stir up any type of emotion. So like we're saying, like keeping us in that low vibrational state, like you turn on the news, what are you going to hear? I was listening to someone recently that they were talking about, they used to watch Good Morning America all the time, but it's like it's never Good Morning America, it's like the most terrible Morning America, you feel me? Because it's like as soon as you turn on your news, you just heard about the worst thing that happened across the 100, like across all the states. You just heard the worst thing that happened today, and it's like there's a million great things that happen too, but like we're not going to talk about any of that, and we're not going to talk about any of the people that might have lately had a positive impact. We're just going to talk about the criminals and all the bad and all this stuff that's going to make you more fearful in your house.
Well, speaking of that, you just made me think then. So we were talking about, in the future revamping this podcast, so we should like highlight like somebody doing something awesome every time. Like let's just
every week.
Let's call out somebody doing something awesome and just be like that other voice, because I don't watch the news for that exact reason.
Facts.
Like I don't want to see all the dead brown babies that people shot up on the street. I don't want to see all that.
Absolutely.
Like, tell me something good. Yeah. Like I know that that exists.
Right, exactly. And another thing too is like definitely go up and do your research about this, but there's certain laws put into place that allow the government to create false flag events. A false flag event is basically just a completely scripted event that is basically like a movie scene, like a whole act, a whole script, a whole play. And they can have these false flag events and then portray them through the media to further their agenda of control. Thing. Yeah, so it's like they could have, and they have had like fake mass public shootings, fake school shootings. All of these things literally are written into the law so that they are allowed to do it. But it could be anything, like big concert shootings, as far as like, it could be anything. It doesn't even have to be a shooting. Like they could just create any story, like a big racist fight going on between black versus white, so on and so forth. There's been a lot of that going on in the past year and a half, and it's like what they do is they create this narrative through a screen that is just like, these people are people that are also directly involved with Hollywood. They're directly involved with the TV network. So they have people that are very good at creating these illusions, let's just say. So they put out this illusion that there's so much white versus black going on, white versus black going on, white versus black going on the TV. in my life every day, I'm talking to white people, I'm interacting with them and there's no problems. Everything is peaceful, everything is chill. And then all of a sudden, once the media starts pushing that narrative, now there's like a little bit of weird energy. Now I see like white people are staying more to themselves and black people are staying more to themselves. But one thing I encourage everyone to do is pay more attention to your life. Pay more attention to what's happening in your reality, because that reality does not exist for you. At a certain point, we did not have the TV, we did not have, all this interconnectedness. So that might not even be necessarily something that is meant for us to see. But when we're engaging with this and we're putting our manifesting power into this, like, we're now helping create a completely artificial timeline that did not exist before. So now we're ramping up racial tensions and all of these things that necessarily that wasn't even happening on a large scale. But now, because we're constantly feeding into it, now it is going to happen, because that's what we're believing is happening, and what we believe will become truth. What we know is what we see. So when we're constantly listening to the media and they're telling us it's this way, the world is so fucking bad, like the world's about to end tomorrow or next year, all of this, like, if we keep buying into that, if we keep just blatantly and blindly accepting that as what is truth in our lives, that's what our lives will start to become more of, because that's what we have accepted. So I really just encourage y'all to pay more attention to what you see in your life. Like, all that division that they show on the screen might not really be happening in your neighborhood. It might not really be happening between you and your people. But like, if y'all don't interact, if you don't take the time to have the conversations, y'all could get split so far just off some bullshit that don't exist, to the point that y'all never talk again, or to the point that y'all actually develop some tension that is something that is completely superficial and didn't exist in your life until now. So
I think that especially about like the current political climate and the climate of the last few years, I think that that was so divisive in terms of just like people all of a sudden changing up how they feel about people based on, that point of view. And I don't know if that's necessarily, I don't know if that's the wave, to just like switch up on people, because just like you said, you can agree with somebody from A through Y and then get to Z and then just be like, well, that one thing, but is Z enough to take away everything? And I don't know. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not. You know what I mean? So
right. And it's like, I think, like for me personally, it's just like, now, like, I feel like there's a disregard for like real racist situations, real racism, because now everything is racist. Now we're like so centered in on all these little things, or maybe even these stories from the news that nobody even knows any of these people. No one actually has any real life connections with any of these people, but we just gonna assume that this is really happening. We just gonna assume that this is really true. So now we're just like going around carrying ourselves a little differently towards the people in our lives that have never done anything to anyone.
I agree with that. And of course, me, how I'm always like, I see two sides of it, because I definitely do think that, there's still people out there getting hung from trees and stuff. And yeah, that's not particularly my neighborhood, but I don't want to see no brown bodies hanging from trees.
Absolutely.
There's still people getting like found in lakes and mutilated, and again, that's not my neighborhood.
That's real
but I don't
racism.
want to see them. But to me, it's also real racism when, some of the low-key stuff happens up here, because, I feel like we do get a bit of a luxury coming from South Jersey. It's a different culture, when it comes to races. We've all grown up with a lot of people. I know that
depends where you went to high school at.
Definitely. It definitely does depend. But I can just say, from speaking for myself, that I grew up with all the people, all my friends. I got friends they're all different kinds of friends. And so I do think that when it comes to like how I've been socialized up here, is a little bit different than, like, say for instance, some of my cousins that I talked to who grew up in Savannah, Georgia, or Tallahassee, Florida, or whatever. Our experiences are different. So I don't want to flat out just not pay attention to that or whatever, because I identify myself with all brown people.
And I'm not saying to turn any blind eye, to look away by any means, because that's not at all what I said or what I was saying.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, just for like clarification for anybody, like, just for anybody else who might be just hearing it in two ways, I think that you should always hear like two angles of the same situation.
Facts. Because it's like, as far as I see it, it's just like we have those real issues that need to be addressed, as well as like, the private prison industrial complex, things like that. And then we got people on the news, aka Joe Biden, talking about, oh, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. So now we got the media telling us we are only ourselves if we carry a certain type of ideology or pledge faith to one certain white man. And it's like these things have been done over and over again by the media to tell us how we should feel about a certain subject, and ultimately how you should feel is how you feel.
Absolutely.
How you should feel is how you feel, and that's not like there's nothing else to it. There shouldn't be, especially if you're a black person concerning black matters, you should not be taking any opinion of a white man or a white woman, if you ask me, or anyone that is outside of that demographic, just because it's like, why is it okay that a white man could get up on the television and say that, but God forbid that a black man says something like that in reverse? You feel me?
Or God forbid a black man says something like "Don't kill me." And
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like just that, but yet
exactly.
Our blackness is determined on how we feel about Joe Biden. No, I'm with you exactly. But even on that level, to me, that was a high key microaggression.
Absolutely.
So,
I don't even think that was micro. I think that was a macroaggression.
But just like those kind of things, and I know you and I spoke about it, and of course that's like the negative side of growing up in South Jersey, is where you hear things like, "Oh, you're not like the other blacks," or "You're a token to your race," or "You speak so well. Where are you from? What do you mix with? You can't be like all this stuff."
You're not really black.
You're not really black. I'm blacker than you. You don't listen to that.
I don't like black people, but
you're cool.
Okay.
Exactly. Like that's South Jersey for you. You get a little taste of both.
Facts.
So I mean, we've had some of the best multiracial friends.
Can I touch your hair, please?
Yeah, please don't. Please don't. Please don't. Yes, exactly.
Yo, it's so crazy.
But with that being said, I think now that we're going to close up, I guess, on this one. But one thing that I want to say, and I've said it in several podcasts, is that there's several truths to a lot of things. I don't know. I can't think of anything just off the cuff that just one view, period. I really can't think of much. But with that being said, you have to listen to your own intuition. It always comes back to listening to your own intuition. It always comes back to what's good for you, because you are an individual. You have work to do in terms of like the universal whole plan. You have a job to do here. You have to figure out what that job is and get to it. You can't be pulled down into this sheepish behavior, because then you'll never elevate to where you need to be. So you need to figure out first and foremost how to hear yourself above all, and hear your higher self, hear your team, hear those voices before you hear these outside world voices where you don't know where they're coming from anyway, because more than 9 times out of 10 they wish you no well. They don't want anything good for you. But you have to trust the people that are in your lives that are set up there that are good for you, even if you don't. And just like we always talk about ourselves, I don't always 100% agree with the things you say, but I trust you as a person enough to know that you're not looking to do harm. And I only know that because I know you personally. But I don't know that of anybody I turn on the news to listen to. I don't know them personally. They can tell me anything.
Who the fuck is that?
Exactly. So you have to be able to have that strong home team as well as that strong intuition to deal with the people outside of your home team.
Mm-hmm.
Those two things I think will really carry you through trying to figure out what's heads or tails of all of the nonsense and all of the good that you can find in media, and to be able to like search through and find what's actually there that's good for you. But it always depends on who your personal circle is, as well as who you are and how well you know yourself.
Facts. And on the trust and intuition, it's like, it's really as simple as when you get that feeling, like, when you get around certain people and you get that tightness in your chest and your stomach, you need to get away from those people. You don't need to go run away and make a big scene out of it, but like, all right, like, I'm gonna catch y'all another day. Like, I don't know what just happened, but I'm just not feeling good right now. Like, you gotta take the time and trust in it, and trust that whenever you get that gut feeling, it's telling you the right thing. Whenever you feel bad, you not like in alignment with exactly what you want. So when you feel good, when you're around the people that's really there for you, really supporting you, really uplifting you, you're going to feel good. You're going to feel safe. You're going to feel secure. And it's like when you're either around people or around, like, it could even be something you're watching or engaging in, something you're reading. Like, if you get a bad feeling about that, that is for all the right reasons in the world. Take it from someone who has doubted that feeling like a million times over and ran into that wall a million times over just so it could be so heavily reinforced that I know to never ever doubt that again. Like, so, and if you run into that wall a bunch of times, don't be discouraged, because I promise you, after the 999th time, you're going to be like, nah, I'm never running into that wall again.
Especially, I feel like if you're a spiritual-minded person, I feel like you're always going to come to that conclusion, because, like, same for me, I feel like I ran into every wall there was to run into until I was like, enough is enough, and then I stopped.
Right.
But that's because I always knew that there was something bigger for me out there, despite the nonsense that I was doing. And to be frank, I definitely think that it's a stage that everybody has to go through.
Yeah.
I think if you don't run into walls, you're not doing it right. Like, how do you grow if you don't take the L's that turn into
Absolutely.
lessons? Like, so you need to have these times where you were like, ooh, I doubted my intuition and got myself into this pickle, and now I got to get myself out. Like, you need that, or else you're never going to grow from it. You
Facts.
need a bad relationship to get a good relationship. You need to have a bad job to get a good job. Like, these things happen. Like, you don't know what you want until you know what you don't want, just like you just said.
Absolutely.
And so you have to go through this. I really get upset when I hear people just talk about how they're just trying to, I just don't want to get into any, like, don't try anything. That means you never lived. You didn't do anything.
I was going to say on that point too, it's like, think about it. You try to be so, like, you're not even being cautious because you're just not literally doing anything now. It's like, but you try to be so cautious that you literally don't do anything. But it's like, if you just would allow yourself to run the way that your spirit wants to run, allow yourself to fly the way your spirit wants to fly, like, yeah, like, you might hurry up and maybe in 5 minutes you run into that wall, but it would have taken you 10 days to ever even see where that wall was at, the way that you was moving, the pace that you was moving at. And as soon as you after 5 minutes you run and hit that wall, you can bounce right back up and get back up again and start moving again. You feel me? So it's like every failure is bringing you one step closer to success. Every time that you get knocked down, it reinforces all that strength of you when you are on your feet and when you are walking, and it gives you purpose in that. It's like you remember those moments, you cherish those moments, and you carry that with you. So just don't be afraid to fail, because every failure, like I said, is one step closer to success. So the way I saw it at a certain point, like I just decided, like, I'm willing to run right to my failure if I think that's where, like, my victory is at, and it happens to be a failure. Like, I don't have no shame in that. I don't have no guilt in that, because I know I'm gonna get to where I was meant to be a whole lot quicker.
I think one thing that people, because I love that you say that, this game is not for the faint of heart. This game is not for the weak. If you are really seriously true about your spiritual journey, there's nothing easy about this. It's really not. It's fulfilling, and I feel gratitude all the time, and I walk around in just a state of just watching the things that I want to manifest in my life. But I'm not going to tell you that it was easy to get to that state of growth and manifestation.
I feel like, especially when you first start, that's when, like, you just open up that.
I feel like when you first start is the hardest. When you just start this journey where you're just like, I'm just gonna do everything I can to stay focused on universal source. When you make that step, I feel like that's the hardest, because now you're gonna be very conscious and aware as you sift through all the different karmic experiences you have to go through so you can get to the manifestation side. Because there's going to be, when you're first starting, and this should be a whole nother podcast on its own, but when you're first starting your journey, there's going to be tiny manifestations. It's not going to be like, I woke up, I understood what universal source is, now I manifested $1 quadrillion in 24 hours because now I know. It doesn't work that way, because, like I just said, you have all that karmic energy from your whole lifetime, past lifetimes, until you got here. It took lifetimes for you to wake up. You didn't just wake up. Whenever you had that wake up moment, you've already been through it a lot of different times in your past, and you're coming through different lifetimes, getting closer and closer and closer and closer to the wake up. But with that being said, Now you have all of this to sift through, past lives worth of karma to sift through, so that now you can move forward from there. But until you get through all of this sifting and figuring out what in your family is getting in your way, figuring out what in your past, like figuring out all of that, you will not move forward quite yet. The universe will give you little trinkets of manifestations to show you that you're on your way. The universe will give you synchronicities to show you that you're on your way, but you have to work through all of that karma first. And it sucks, but it's life. But the stronger you are in your resolve to get to here, the quicker you can work through this. So it all depends on you. And like I said, this game is not for the faint of heart. There are plenty of people who say this is just too hard to focus this long. That's okay. You'll get here next lifetime or the next lifetime or whenever. You're going to get there. You're just not going to do it right this second. It's all a choice. It's the choice that you make and how you want to live your life and how you want to see your life and how willing you are to put in that mental work, that mental anguish, that spiritual effort to get to that point.
You said it. I think that's the perfect way to end. You really said it all, because it's like once you open that Pandora's box, it's like even everything in the past, like you're gonna be revisited with like similar situations like that you've been placed in before to see if you still want to move the same way that you was moving in the past. Like when you want to, maintain your focus, now the universe gonna place every distraction that you've been distracted by. And be like, all right, like, let's see when he gonna get here, like, when she gonna get there, whatever, like, so just trust in it and, like, have faith in it, because I will say, like, at first, it was, like you said, it was so hard, and it always will be to some extent, like, it's always gonna have its layers, its phases, but, like, the level of peace that I have now, just, like, within myself, I can't even describe like the worthiness of that for everything that I went through and everything I've been through and grown through. So it is definitely super rewarding. It's hard. It's devastating. It's going to break you down and build you back up 1,000,000 times over. But it's so much more than worth it in a way that words can't even describe. So.
And the universe is going to send you your support system too.
Absolutely.
You're never going to be alone.
Never.
There's so many people out here that feel by themselves, but you're not by yourself. You do have your team. You need to know that. There's this one phrase that I heard and I loved it, but it was, don't just remember who you are, but remember whose you are. So know who your team is, know whose you are, know who you belong to, know who claims you, because those are going to be the people that you need to lean on when shit hits the fan. Those are going to be the people who are unconditional. Those are going to be the people who know how to like fill your bucket and bring you back to where you need to be. So not only do you need to know who you are, but know whose you are.
Thanks.
Well, with that being said, this was an extra long episode. I feel like this was one of my favorite ones. We were all over the place.
It's definitely, I think it was my favorite one. I like to talk about them.
You like to talk about a lot of things. Well, so before we let you go, please make sure that you are checking out the new chapters on Wattpad of As the Story Goes. And if you don't want to just have just the chapters one at a time, that you are buying it on Amazon. It is out there for you. The cool thing about it is it has a Spotify code so that you can hear the playlist along with it if you actually buy the book. So that's pretty awesome. How about you?
And definitely make sure you follow us on Instagram. You already know. Check the beginning of the video for the Instagram tags. And your boy is Tariq Dupree. I appreciate y'all for coming out. Appreciate y'all time, y'all energy. We will see y'all in a couple weeks. Peace, fam.